Big dogs, they do the same thing.
They're smart.
They won't go out.
They won't go out there. He would have it when he told me not to go out. And my dog has something to do with that, so. You called him today.
At least he's smart enough not to run.
Oh, yeah. I think we told you that raccoons won't harm the dog. I don't believe it. He said they
Only if they get corn. Get in a place where they can't get out.
Okay.
They will. But if they can run, they'll run.
But if they see him in the yard, they're not gonna come in the yard at him. See, if they're in the tree and he's in the yard, they're not gonna come out that tree and come and stuff. My yard is fenced in, so they're not gonna come out the tree and try to get in the yard. But if he's not out there, they'll get on the fence, because I know they're in there, because I can see when they're digging holes in my lawn.
Good evening. All right, you want some too? Oh, my bad, Nikki.
No wonder, like.
I hope I don't have to throw it away after tonight. Okay, good evening, everybody. Good evening.
That means you're not a fan.
What I was doing, I was blaming on the dog. Going around digging these little holes all over the place. It's the raccoons.
I know they just talk, but you know, when they talk in the front yard, it is still in.
Go to YouTube,
It's
then-
beautiful when I fix my water tank. But the back rubber, it still has a little drop. And they still go along the yard that is dry, but the front yard, they don't dig holes in it anymore.
We're line.
That's the worm.
Grubble.
Yeah, that's what he called it. Glad they ain't my backyard, not my front.
Come on up. Okay. Okay. Good evening, everyone. Okay. Good evening, everyone. We're set and we're ready. Thanks so much, and we appreciate you standing by as we get things settled. This point in time, we're going to call the Town of Mangonia Park regular council meeting of October 6th, 2020. Into session. Roll call, please. Here.
Here.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. At this time, let us stand for our invocation, please. Most kind and gracious Father, we thank you for this opportunity given once again for us to be able to come out on this beautiful night to make decisions for those who have elected us to serve. And so we pray and ask that all things that we say and do here be pleasing to thee, and all of the decisions that we make advance the cause of the town and its businesses and its residents as well. We ask that you will continue to be with us, we pray in Jesus' name. Amen. Our Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much. We'll be seated. At this point in time, we'll attend to our agenda. Of course, you have an agenda with you, and if you're in the audience and you have an agenda, feel free to follow along with us. At this point in time, as it relates to our agenda, are there any additions, deletions, or substitutions to the agenda?
Mr. Mayor, if you will, we would need to take off for tonight under ordinances and resolutions. We will need to bring that back to you most likely next month. Per the notification period was not met, so we will bring that back to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Any other deletions or additions or substitutions to be added or deleted from the agenda? Hearing that there are no other items, motion for approval? Is there a motion to approve? Motion has been made to approve the agenda as amended. Is there a second?
Second.
That's been properly moved and seconded. All those in favor, aye. Aye. Pose same sign. It is carried. Thanks so much. And we have no items annotated for the consent agenda, but if there's any items to be placed on the consent agenda, we'll entertain that at this time. Any items for the consent agenda?
Thanks so much. Hearing none.
Thanks so much. Hearing none, we will move on in our agenda. Our next item is item 4, proclamations and presentations. We have item 4A, and this is a presentation, Operation in the Sunshine, Code of Ethics PowerPoint. That's going to be provided for us, and the presenters are here and present.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Council, just a quick note before the attorney takes off with this. In your package, you do have a memorandum from the legal office, and right behind that, you do have a PowerPoint presentation from the Ethics Commission. That is for your information to take home with you and to look at, and I think the attorney can give you some updated information as far as training sessions and that is in your packet for your information.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Going back to the memorandum
that this office prepared, it looks similar to what you see every year as part of your update. I'm only going to discuss sunshine law tonight pursuant to request.
So if you turn to
page 2, I'm going to hit the high points and then give you a little bit more that's not on the memo itself. You've heard us talk over the years a lot about sunshine law, but
starting with A,
sunshine law obviously applies to any meetings of council members where official action or discussion about official action takes place. And what the sunshine law requires is that discussion and that action take place in a
publicly noticed.
So this is, just so you have the right page, this is
The legal memo, and
its page starts on page 2, item 3.
As I was saying,
sunshine law requires that the meeting be open to the public, appropriately noticed, and recorded via minutes.
Pretty straightforward.
Requirements in the law, pretty simple requirements in the law.
The big part for you is
the
next item.
on your memo, which is that council members may not discuss any matter on which foreseeable action will be taken by the council, except in a public, noticed and recorded sunshine meeting. So what we typically hear people say is, you can only have those discussions in the sunshine, is how people typically refer to that. So you have to be in a public meeting, which has been duly noticed and is having the minutes recorded.
Sunshine law does
apply to any board or commission. Yes, ma'am.
We're on 3A, right?
Yes, ma'am, NB.
Yes, ma'am, NB.
Remember when I questioned you about that once when you and another person I had I just want to bring your attention to it. I didn't want to say anything when you and I had a discussion about that. And I just want to make sure I'm saying it again while I'm here. The only way anybody can violate the sunshine law is, and tell me if I'm wrong. And I want our mayor to be, so the mayor can know that all of us are aware that you have to be an elected official, don't you?
You have to be
members of the same board, so members of the same
That's an
council.
elected official.
Well, it can be different.
Well, it can be different, but in your context, yes, it doesn't apply to you.
Let me ask you a question. Let me ask one more time. For you to violate the sunshine law, wouldn't you have to be a member of a board or an elected official? Like you said, a member of the board, but you have to be elected.
Correct. While you're running for office, unless you are.
Wait. That's not what I said. You have to be an elected official, not while you're running for office. I just asked me, am I wrong or right? Is it yes or no?
If
If you're talking about council or commission level, yes, you are elected to your position. If you're talking about planning and zoning board, you are appointed.
If you're talking about a planning
If you're talking about a planning and zoning board member, they're appointed.
That's why I just want to make sure I'm
clarifying to you.
I'm talking about up here,
The council
or sitting up this council, up here. The only way one of the 5 of us can violate the sunshine law is that we have to be elected.
Well,
Am I wrong or right? Yes or no, that's all I'm asking.
Well, if you weren't elected, you wouldn't be on the council, is what I guess.
Is what I asked one more time. For one of us on this date to violate the sunshine law, we would have to be an elected person on this council.
You would have to be on the council, that's correct.
That's all I want to know.
Anything else?
Anything else?
Nope.
On that point, okay.
Moving on.
So the
Important language is
here is
you all cannot discuss
outside of a public meeting actions which will foreseeably come before you
at a subsequent meeting,
except in the public,
a noticed and recorded
a noticed and recorded sunshine meeting, an open meeting essentially.
Knowing and intentional violations
of this do come with criminal penalties. The criminal penalties, it's enforced as a second-degree misdemeanor, so the penalty can be, in a criminal context, up to a $500 fine or 60 days in jail. So it does carry fairly serious consequences, but again, those have to be knowing and intentional to carry criminal penalties. There are actually civil penalties as well, the fine up to $500, but that's if it's a non-criminal instance. A little bit different legal standard, but just so you're aware, there is also a non-criminal penalty option.
The most important part,
Another very important part about Sunshine, I should say, is that it doesn't apply to the town manager or to myself. So you are free to speak with myself or with Manager Metcalf at any time about any action that could potentially come before you about any other matter. Sunshine law does not apply there.
E is one that
I advise
to be taken with
a grain of salt, if you will. So what E says is if you send a one-way communication and you copy all of your fellow council members,
the one-way
correspondence is not technically a violation of the Sunshine. However, it's a slippery slope. So the knee jerk is to reply or reply all to an email like that. I would advise that you not send those one-way communications to your fellow council members because it just creates an opportunity to violate the Sunshine Law, and it's typically not necessary. You all meet regularly, so you can have those discussions in the Sunshine.
But we do point out
that it's not a technical violation, but again, proceed with caution because it does create
the
element for human error to somebody to accidentally reply and forget kind of how they're operating.
There are only
two very limited exceptions to the Sunshine Law. Those are for shade meetings.
The technicality
with shade meetings is it has to be pending litigation, so it has to be before a court or an administrative body. It can't be future or speculative litigation, it has to be current litigation. The other more limited exception is the collective bargaining meetings. That comes up much less frequently, but it is a limited exception.
Those are the
big points.
If you have any
specific questions,
one other thing that
comes up a lot is, as I said, the two
members
from this council can't talk except for in public.
However,
there is some.
in your case, the
Planning and Zoning Board is not a good example. That's the typical example. But Sunshine wouldn't prohibit you as council from speaking to a Planning and Zoning Board member if you all were not the Planning and Zoning Board.
But
let's say for the Board of Adjustment or some other board that Sunshine would apply to, you have to be on the same board for the Sunshine for the Sunshine Law to prohibit your communication. Sorry, the mask is impossible to breathe through.
Again, in your context,
Planning and Zoning Board, you sit in that body as well, so that's not a great example.
But
it does apply when two or more of you are meeting or discussing and sitting on the same board. So with that, that's the high level of Sunshine. The most typical problem areas, if you will. If you have specific questions, I'm happy to answer them. Yes, ma'am.
I just want to make sure the point you were making under 3E about the one-way communication, this also includes text messages, right?
It wouldn't matter what
media you're using.
So yeah, the same thing would apply if any kind of communication one way went, so a text message would also be a similar scenario. Again,
While technically
not a Sunshine violation,
especially in the context
of text messaging, because the entire chain is copied on a reply without the discretion of not doing reply all, that's even more dangerous in my mind.
Dangerous is a strong word.
Dangerous is a strong word, but there's even more potential there for somebody on the group, maybe that isn't a council member who was also on there to reply and then inadvertently go to the rest of the council.
Just as a
matter of practice, would
shy away from
sending those types of emails with everybody on the council, because especially
everybody's
so accustomed to email these days and just hitting reply, and we take for granted the amount of communicating we do. So I would be very, very cautious especially with text messaging and with emails.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm glad the Vice Mayor brought that up because and I'm glad I can say this, I never thought about it. Most of the time when something comes up, we are discussing in here. And I think the residents should know about it. Because I have an email, you know about my email, so I always email the residents. But when I do it, I make sure that everybody up here is included in that email. It's wrong with things.
You're getting into slippery.
You're getting into slippery slope territory there, just because somebody on the distribution list could reply all, and then you inadvertently had a communication that shouldn't have happened outside the sunshine.
But it's never something that we have to vote on. Whenever I send them something like that, that's what I'm gonna ask. Let's see, no, it's what I'm doing, okay, I'm glad, I never even thought about it. When say we are talking about, good thing is, when we just,
The Meritage Home.
the Meritage Home, good example.
When we are discussing.
When we are discussing something about the Meritage homes, and they are not here, especially
Now, and
I want them to know about something about it, I email it to them.
And that is certainly something that will come back before you as a council, so that is something I would be very cautious, of doing. Again, the hard part about Sunshine is that I can come here and I can tell you the general requirements, the legal requirements, but the analysis in terms of whether how close you're getting to violating is so fact-specific that if you ever question it, feel free to call me directly or go through Ken, however you'd like to do it. Because a lot of times, the substance of what you're saying is critical. You may have the best of intentions, but it may have something to do with something that's going to foreseeably come before you that would trigger a sunshine violation. So anytime I'm happy to answer if there's a specific, or you're about to send an email and you're not sure, I'm happy to have a 2-minute conversation and give you a formal opinion on.
And I'm glad we are discussing this because I never thought about it until now. And Mangonia Park, I guess, is unique because we are not as fortunate as a lot of municipalities. And I noticed when we have council meetings, a lot of time, our residents can't even hear. They don't even understand what's going on because of the setup that we have here. Which means a lot of times information that I feel personally, I don't know about, not speaking for the council, that they should be aware of. They are not. And therefore, our people in our little town are missing out on a lot of information that they should have. And a good example, and I wasn't going to bring this up, only one person, Diane Frederick. And I really, I'm proud she did that. She sent an email to you and Ms. Albury today about the Sabri, you remember about when they're behind in their mortgage and the county has enabled them to apply for the county to catch up with the money. I forgot what it called. She emailed the two of you and she put me on the email because she's on our email list. That type of information is so important for everybody in Palm Beach County who are behind in their mortgages due to the virus. And my email is down, and I couldn't send that email out to the residents. So they're missing out on that money that the county is offering them. Because I don't know whether you all read it, but our people are not getting in the deadline. I think she said the 9th. Sure is. It's been on TV. She's sending out. Yeah, she's sending out today. And that's why I'm glad you're going over this about the email and the information that we email out to them. And we need to, and I don't know how we're going to handle it, but we need to be, until our web page gets up, our people in this community are missing out on a lot of pertinent information during this virus because there is no way. But then the only way they get information is when I send information out on that email.
Mr. Vice Mayor, you had something?
I know that there is information available to the community on our website that has been identified in our agenda for residents to be able to log on to and see what's going on in this town. So I think we encourage our residents to go to our website to gain information. And the information that's present for the residents be placed on the website, or that we are mode of communication.
Okay, so quickly, and then we're going to get back to the matter that we discussed.
Mayor, I think this conversation is so important to our town because we are trying to deny something. I'm not ashamed of it. I don't care. I'm not wealthy. A lot of our people in the town of Mangonia Park, they're just like the children, especially of color, that's incapable of being informed about anything because they don't have internet. Come on, y'all, they don't have internet, they don't know how, go in our community, find out how, in town of Mangonia Park, and find out how many people have internet or a computer. They rely on us for a lot of information, especially during the violence. Look at me. I told Miss, I had to apologize. I couldn't get my agenda because my internet is down. But I have internet. I have a cell phone. A lot of our people are incapable of a lot of information. That's all.
What we could do, and then we'll get back to the matter of the agenda. What we can do is just as we encounter individuals, let them know that Comcast is running what is it, education student kind of $10 a month. Right, so that kind of information can be shared with anyone that we come in contact with, because they've been doing this for about 2 years now, 2-3 years, for that kind of a program. So we're gonna go back, but just real quick, and then we're gonna go back to the. How
are they gonna know about what Comcast is running if they don't have the internet? But since this conversation is not that important, I just shut up.
Word of mouth, telephone, text, there are a lot of methods by which we can, as we pass a neighbor, sort of, the old grapevine concept that used to exist within the community. We're just sharing information verbally, by way of text or anything else, so, which doesn't require the internet. Then hopefully when they get to the internet, then they can accomplish the things that you're talking about. But let's get that information out there about Comcast. Okay. Ready, Amity?
Mr. Mayor, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. Those were those are the main points to Sunshine. There are nuances,
Committees,
with committees, various
nuanced
kind of nuanced things. I don't think they're particularly applicable in this moment in the town, but certainly I'm more than happy at any moment. If you have a question about Sunshine and whether you're about to do something that may have Sunshine implications, please feel free to call me. Typically, those are very quick. As I said, they're fact specific and kind of handled on a case-by-case thing. So anytime, please feel free, and I'm happy to answer any questions as they come up.
That's the free phone call. Okay.
Okay, anything else, Amity?
No, sir. I'll remember.
Okay. Alrighty, thanks so much. And we appreciate it. Again, if you have any questions or comments or anything else, then of course, Amity or Ken, want to have those answered. And then we have the training packet, so we can avail ourselves of the reading of that as well. Thanks so much, Amity.
Thank you.
Okay, alrighty, we'll go on in our agenda. Our next item, Amity, Palm Beach County League of Cities. We have anything?
And piggybacking, thank you, sir. Piggybacking off Manager Metcalf's comment, another shameless plug for the ethics training. As he said, you have that ethics packet in your backup materials for tonight. But just your final reminder that the ethics training is next week. It's on the 14th of October, and it's from 10:30 to 10:30 to 3:30. It's a morning session and an afternoon session with a lunch break. This year is unique because of the coronavirus. It's virtual, so if you need this, I would highly advise that you do it, because it will be much more convenient to do from your computer than from the physical space. So just a reminder, again, that's October 14th. That's next week. The second update for you. I'm sorry, sir. Thank you. The next general membership meeting for the league is October 28th at 12 p.m. As you all likely are aware, the governor sort of at the 11th hour extended the in-person quorum requirements through the month of October. That's an aside, but so this is another conference call for the general membership meeting. The presentation that's being given is being given by Dr. Alonso from the county health department. The topic is COVID-19, where we've been and where we're going. So if you're interested in getting an update on that, that again is October 28th via conference. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Any questions? Any questions or comments for our meeting? Thank you so much. We'll continue on our agenda. Already, our next item is ordinance and resolutions. We have resolution number 202-10, which of course was removed from the agenda and advanced to the next meeting. Alrighty, so we'll continue on our agenda. Our next item is item 7A, and this is a request for approval of a capital improvement plan attachment. Ken, as it relates to our ear.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Council, if you recall in our comp plan discussion with our planner, Melissa, a couple of meetings ago, she had indicated that one of the requirements in the comp plan was the annual approval of a 5-year capital plan. So that is in your packet tonight. It will be approved by resolution at your next meeting, but it is in your packet for discussion tonight if you have any questions. These are items that have been discussed at various public budget workshops. So a lot of this will not be unfamiliar to you, but it is in there, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have. Now, one thing that you should consider about a capital improvement plan, it's very fluid, it changes, it can change as rapidly as you need it to, based on the town's needs. It can be updated at your pleasure, and it's not locking you into spending any. It is a guide that lets you know the things we have talked about, and it does try to put a priority by fiscal years, so that is included also. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So with that, are there any questions or comments as it relates to the approval request for the, okay, Councilman Smith?
When you say change, can you be specific, it's kind of
Certainly. Let's say that we have something in the capital improvement plan that is designated for fiscal year 22, 23. But during the course of the budget year, we have an emergency and we have to pull that item into the current year. That can be changed, on the spot based on an emergency. You may get into the next budget year and see that an item that looked like it was going to be important for the coming fiscal year, you can actually push out a couple more years. So you can change it like that. Certainly dollar values change year to year. Something that would have cost $50,000 one year, by the time we actually get around to it, it could be 55 to 60,000. So those are changes that come about. You got to take items off, and certainly we're always going to be adding stuff to it. So it's not a holistic document. It's something that will change pretty frequently, I would think, but definitely year to year.
Okay, so my last question then, from the staff standpoint, subject to change, that would have to definitely go before council, right?
Certainly.
That was not great.
If I may,
add just one additional comment there. The statute allows for, this will come back before you actually in ordinance form, but the statute allows for you to evaluate, as Ken said, this is supposed to be
in theory, it's supposed
to be a 5-year working plan that is evaluated every year, and then you make modifications through ordinance. And the modifications that you make are not considered modifications to your comp plan. The statute gives you the flexibility to do the reviews, to update, as he said, as plans change and as desires or capital needs change. The statute allows you the flexibility to do that evaluation, to modify as things are needed over the course of that 5-year period.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Are there any other questions or comments on this item?
You have some clarification on how this is scheduled, so I want to make sure I'm moving it properly. I was funding for this, and I'm not sure which funding for referring to which action. Just trying to be clear on that.
And I would recommend during our one-on-ones, certainly tonight we can discuss anything, but I'm definitely in our one-on-one sessions, we can really get into the meat of some things. And I will repeat again, these items have previously been discussed at various budget workshops or one-on-ones that we've had. These are basically ideas that council and or the public has come up with at some point. So nothing is etched in stone.
Okay. Other comments or questions? Okay. And again, this is just part of the plan. It's a living document, as Mitty stated, and as well as the town manager, subject to change and corrections. And however, what's being requested now is that at least we have something codified in place by way of a vote. So if there's no other questions or comments, What is your, okay?
One last comment. Again, this is a requirement from the state in our comp plan.
Oh, thank you so much. All righty, if there's no other questions or comments, what is your pleasure? Is there a vote? Okay, this is a request, item 7A for approval, so it would require a council vote. So if there's a motion, we'll entertain that now. Motion has been made to approve the capital improvement plan. Is there a second to that?
Has been properly moved.
Has been properly moved and seconded.
Any questions on the?
Any questions on the motion? Any other questions on the motion?
Hearing none. Roll call,
Hearing
please.
none, roll call, please.
Yes.
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 Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
The next item is item.
The next item is item 7B, and this is a discussion on the process of elimination and disposal of town-owned property. Ken?
Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Council, as you may recall at your previous meeting, you authorized staff to purchase 2 vehicles. And so that purchase has been made, and so what we're doing is we're taking 2 new vehicle and newer vehicle. They are working vehicles now, and we're rotating 2 off of that fleet. And so we'd like to have a discussion, and of course, we've given the attorney the heads up on the best way to dispose of this property.
Sure, so if I may, just generally speaking, and the clerk provided exactly the correct code section that speaks to this in your code. I think it's 2-23 should be in your packet. I got a copy of it. The appropriate provision is B1. A speaks to the disposition of real property, which in the context of the trucks, that's not real property, that's tangible property. So as you see in B1, it says all other town-owned property may be disposed of by any means allowed by law, which is very general language. So essentially what that means is there's nothing in your code, and there are a bunch of attorney general opinions. There's no statute that governs how you dispose of it. Your charter and your code, other than this language, don't specify the process. So long as the method you choose isn't inconsistent with some state law, you can dispose of it however you desire. Most typical way is to just, in the context of trucks, sell them. You can also donate them. There's no prescribed way, so. Which is good news. Typically, you have to make sure that however you're disposing of it, you do it in the best interest of the town, which I'm sure would be why you're disposing of them in the first place. But your code language is very broad, so I presume, at whatever point, perhaps the discussion tonight will shed light on how you're thinking about disposing of them, but there's nothing that really limits you, so long as it's done in the best interest of the town. And typically, in terms of procedure, you have to designate it as surplus property, so that's usually done by resolution, so there's not a lot of formalities that are required, but once we get to the point of being ready to dispose of them, we'll prepare those documents, but it's typically essentially a one-page resolution, just so you make the legislative finding that it is surplus property, and that the town is desiring to get rid of it.
Thanks so much, Amity.
Thanks so much, Amity. Are there any questions or comments for Amity?
Any questions or comments?
Any questions or comments? Councilwoman Green?
Mr. Mayor, are you saying that we're gonna make a decision, we can make a decision tonight how to get rid of these trucks that we are getting rid of?
Just a discussion.
Just a discussion at this point.
Why don't we sell them? Can't we sell them and make money off of them? I know. That's why we want, that's not a hard decision to make. I know that the sheriff department, every time they put a car out for retirement. That's how you see these people driving around, all they do is take their little seal off of it and sell it. Take the man on your park. off and sell it.
Right.
thing of-
The thing of.
Or auction it.
Right, and Ken and I talked about it, the thing in a meeting, sort of I emphasized it, is that as it states right now, although we have this document that she sort of gleaned from one of our
We really don't
statutes,
have any-
we really don't have any clear direction in terms of a surplus policy, if you will, specifically. That states that when we have surplus inventory, then here's how we dispose of it. So that's what we need to clean up. The decision to sell or not to sell, I think, is automatic. We want to get rid of them.
We don't have
But we don't have the policy in place yet. So we have to codify a policy, by way of resolution, then we can dispose of it.
Councilwoman Green?
Councilwoman Green?
Then I'm confused. I thought you said that was, in other words, from what I understood our attorney to say,
There are no rules
or regulations that determine
what
what we need to specifically
Am I wrong?
do with the, am I wrong what you just said?
I think you're saying the same thing, actually. All your code says is that you can dispose of tangible property in any manner prescribed by law.
Yeah, you
Right.
can sell it.
However, to his point, you do have to make a finding as a body that those are surplus items. You would have to by resolution designate those items as surplus, so no longer needed by the town. Then you can dispose of them. So I think that's what the mayor is saying, that to put a policy in place for the disposition is somewhat of the tenor of the conversation tonight. Is not only do you have to pass that resolution, but is there any other policy considerations to be made by the council in terms of selling them? Or disposing of any property for that matter, any tangible property.
Okay.
Other questions?
Anybody? Other questions or comments?
What's the, lack of legal definition of the state of Florida when it comes to surplus property that we're trying to leave, to get the tip and take the lead out of our fleet? So, like, if there's some type of state of Florida guideline that you also want to follow?
No, essentially you just have to make a finding that you no longer need, in the context of the vehicles, you no longer need them. You've replaced them with newer vehicles. It's pretty simple.
And I actually have not the computer, but, I talked to you in your presentation, you mentioned something about Florida, maybe that was something earlier.
No, I think maybe what you're referencing is just that you dispose of it not in violation of state law. That's just the generic reference to state law.
Okay. Other questions?
Okay. Other questions or comments, Vice Mayor?
Yes, and I do have been referencing last session, that if the property has no value for sale, how do you get rid of the property? I mean, like, I know one of the vehicles is rather tattered and worn, and may not even be worthy of sale. So how do we?
So I guess there's a couple of ways. Donation, if that's an option. You also could consider scrapping the metal, which would in essence be selling parts, I guess, not selling the vehicle itself, but selling parts thereof. So long as you make the finding that it's surplus and you no longer need it, the confines are limited in terms of what you can and can't do. So if there's no value to it, we'll figure out a way to get it properly disposed of.
So we should bring that before the council with the description of the vehicle and the proposed surplus plan for you to sell or scrapping.
Yes, ma'am, before you dispose of it, a resolution should be prepared that not only designates it as surplus property, but again, if any policy, if this council's direction is to create a more formalized policy, that should be done even prior to the actual resolution.
Other questions or comments?
Other questions or comments?
Because at this point in time.
Do we have a definition, the town itself, of surplus?
No, sir. No, sir.
So we have to.
Get that definition in place.
As well for conversation.
As well for conversation purposes.
You look at the.
When you look at the surplus policies of other entities, state, county, and so
Some have
forth,
provisions.
some have provisions that won't allow employees to purchase.
Do we want to consider those?
Do we want to consider those? So there's a lot of things to be considered. So what are the limitations to parameters that you put in place? If you put any at all.
That may be some employees.
There may be some employees who wants to purchase it, or employees allowed to purchase surplus properties. So again, that's what we decide, those are the things we decide here. So feel free to get that information, I guess to Ken first, and then Mehdi will sort of
And
incorporate
what I could
things.
do, if it's helpful, is I could try to pull 2 or 3 policies that I can find from other jurisdictions and provide them to the manager, just so you have a point of beginning. I mean, they're not typically very lengthy, but as you say, there are some considerations. So I can give a couple of examples if that's helpful.
Well, certainly, in fact, and I was thinking the same thing, we don't reinvent the wheel, we just kind of take the wheel and put our name on it, so to speak, if it meets our needs, so, okay?
Any other questions?
Any other questions or comments? Okay. Anything else, Ken?
Just a footnote to this, I did want to thank the clerk who did get this on the agenda quickly and also to make sure the payment was made for the vehicles and that the insurance kicked in at the right time and that the insurance on these other two kicked off at the right time. So there wasn't an easy transition that happened quickly, so just wanted to note that.
Well, thanks. Well, appreciate it. The only issue with the new truck, the Ford particularly, is that the utility supervisor won't let anybody else in it. So you have difficulties prying that away from Mr. Jones. So, okay, thanks so much. Anything else?
Well, it was just.
It was just an inside kind of a thing. The utility director stated that that's his truck.
So if we have
to go somewhere as a council when this panic,
he won't let us get in it.
He won't let us get in it.
Yeah, we'll make it.
Yeah, we'll make it happen. However. Okay.
Mr. Mayor,
Yeah, there are some conditions. So what?
Mr. Mayor, can I just,
It's not funny,
something?
but
It's
anyway.
not funny, but anyway,
This happened at
our church. We had pianos and
that
organ
we didn't want.
that we didn't want.
And then we did the
And then
same
we
thing
did the same thing that we are doing now.
And they auctioned
And they auctioned them, so the
who
first person who puts in the highest price gets it.
And that's how I got my.
And that's how I got my piano for only one little measly $100.
And then when I got it.
And then when I got it, people got angry because I got it too cheap. So, so you'd be surprised to know how much money we can make out one of our trucks if we auction it.
Right, and certainly we
Right, and certainly we want to, again, have a provision in place so that there's no perception that some impropriety took place.
Right.
So we want to make sure we do things that way. Okay?
So again, any.
Righty, so again, any suggestions, ideas, get those to Ken, and they'll be incorporated in the document that we finalize. With the resolution.
Okay, thanks so much.
Okay, thanks so
Our
much.
next item is item
Our next item is item 7C.
This is a request for.
This is a request for the consideration to award a contract for a road rehabilitation paving project at 53rd Street and portions of East Avenue. Ken?
Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council, this is a recommendation from our town engineer, Lauren Hancock, who is on the phone if we have questions about this. But this project will encompass 53rd Street from the end of Hill Avenue to Dexter Way, and also the corner of Fairfield and East Avenue. If you're familiar with that, just below the TV station, there is a huge chunk of asphalt that's been missing for a couple of years now, so we need to rehab that. Again, this is the engineer's recommendation. We did go through a lengthy bidding process, and he's on the line. If you have any questions, I may have to relay that to him, but he's here if you have questions.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, and we'll have questions in just a moment. What I did want to do is acknowledge that we do have individuals who are attending the meeting by way of Zoom and/or our YouTube channel. So if you have any questions regarding this item and/or any other thing that we've talked about, simply raise your hand. There's a little
Function that would allow.
function that would allow you to raise your hand, and the staff will identify that, and then we will allow you, when we get to our public comments, to ask any questions you may have. All right, thank you. So at this point in time, are there any questions or comments as it relates to this item from council?
Any questions or comments?
Any questions or comments?
Basically, I guess just to give us a rundown of the paperwork we have in front of us. Like paperwork we have in front of us and where the process is this all just bid?
That's all the bid documents, yes, ma'am. And a lot of that you're not gonna necessarily want to look at, but it will tell you who did what, and just a lot of information. Certainly, if you have questions about it, we can.
Okay.
Any other
Buddy,
questions?
any other questions or
If
comments?
not, then we'll see
If not, then we'll see if Van has anything he wants to add to this particular request.
Van, you have anything to say? I've got you on the mic.
Yeah, no,
If not, then we'll see what Ben has anything to add.
Basically, turn your YouTube down.
Yeah. Yeah, give me a second here.
Go ahead, man.
Oh, nothing, this was just the, lowest qualified bidder, met all our standards of our contract documents and came in low. These are projects that we've been wanting to do for a little while, and now with the money that we're getting from the, tax, each year, Ken and I have put together a road program, and, we'd like to get these done, and I'm working on documents to do the balance of East Avenue, rebuild that roadway. And then we've got our eye on various other areas in the town, which we'll evaluate right before we go to bid on.
Okay.
I think Sven,
Okay.
just hang on.
All right, thanks, Van. Just hang on. There may be a question or two for you. We'll see if we have any questions or comments. Any questions or comments for our engineer?
Okay. Now,
Okay.
Van,
So,
just rhetorically.
Van, just rhetorically, I know that there was an evaluation done, and I know that during the course of the conversation, specifically Ken had made mention of Fairfax, that little corner right there, where
It floods.
it floods,
Now with
you
the
know,
heavy
particularly now with the heavy
In
rain.
terms of just the,
In terms of just the hierarchy, the prioritization,
where is that, or was
where
that
is that, or was that
This is
considered,
more
or
immediate.
this is more immediate?
That's in here as well.
That's in here as well.
Okay, 'cause I
Okay,
know initially it
okay,
was
because I know
not.
initially it was
Okay,
not, so,
great.
okay, great, great. Okay.
Okay, so if there's no other questions.
Okay, so if there's no other questions or comments, then the recommend, Councilman Smith?
Under A, to the engineer, good evening. With the rehabbing of this road, and the condition, and the mayor brings a point of flooding. Again, specifically what your recommendation as engineer, when they recondition the road, and there, something concrete to, have the flooding stop or minimize that of the city, can you kind of clarify that?
Councilman Smith's asking about safeguards put in place for flooding.
No, we're not really doing anything in regards to flooding, in this particular case. That was our Hill Avenue project, and, we're hoping to mitigate the flooding at the intersection of Dexter and 53rd with the improvements by SFTRA.
Well, you just answered the question, saying you're not doing them in it, but that's a step in, I would say, I'm gonna assume that's a step in the right direction, because, as the mayor mentioned, and I don't go back there as much, but it's a low-lying area, we do tend to flood, so we're spending dollars, bidding dollars for the road to be rehabbed. And so I just hope we wisely make sure that we can take care of flooding issue, sequentially together, or either as soon as we can, because it's nice that we, that it's been reconditioned, rehab. But then, the rainy monsoon season, we're gonna have that rain problem, that flooding problem again.
I'm gonna make a comment with that. That's a good point about flooding, and I think one, measure that council just put in place was the awarding the bid for the storm drain cleaning, the pipe cleaning that you did, I think 2 meetings ago. That project, I believe, was finished up on Hill Avenue, and if you saw the rain last week, I think it already made a big difference on Hill. So that's a good point, and I think the best thing, not speaking for Van, but I think we say probably one of the better things we can do for flooding is to continue to have the storm drains cleaned, the pipes and whatnot. Anything to add to that, Van, as far as flooding?
Well, what flooding are we talking about? Hill Avenue?
In general.
Well, in general, I'm only aware of 3 areas, and Hill Avenue is basically due to the design. We mitigated and got an outfall there, but that system's actually designed that if the RC now we go into is 2
never improved by Riviera Beach. And it actually backflushes on us, and then we go back down again. That system's working. It's not the most desirable, but it mitigates that situation out there. We have a positive legal outfall. The only other two areas is East and
East Avenue, Fairfield.
We're repairing the road. We need to repair the road. And that has a outfall to a lake in the cemetery in West Palm Beach. We have an agreement with them in easements. And we can go in and clean those pipes next. But because it doesn't have an outfall, it's just like the lake in Australian business cruise. It percolates. And so sometimes we'll get flooding up there on East and Fairfield. The last one's Dexter and Benton Third. I'm not aware of any other chronic flooding unless you get a large storm event.
Right, and specifically,
and it goes to Councilman Smith's point, is that was my reference point.
East Avenue.
The East Avenue and the Fairfield, yeah, because you go through there on a mild, pretty,
I won't say
a torrential downfall, but just a heavy rain, and yes, impassable.
Mayor was referencing East and Fairfield.
Clean the pipes up there.
No, he's saying that the outfall.
No, he's saying that the outfall is to the lake? It's, okay, to the lake?
Okay.
Okay. Ready? Councilman Green?
Mr. Mayor, whatever you did, keep doing it. I heard everything you said then.
Okay.
I think, remember we had that
hard rain and 45th Street right here in front of President. Maybe that was explained, but you know how hard it is for us to hear it talking through these masks.
I just like
someone to tell me what happened.
caused that big
What caused that big flood and
Mr.
Mr. Metcalf, you know what I'm referring to.
Yes, when you get a surge, and I think Van was alluding to that a little bit, when you get that surge, there's really, and you've had periods of rain leading up to that, and you get that 30, 45 minutes of just constant, hard rain. That is gonna happen. I've seen it a couple of times here on 45th Street. Hill Avenue's been another problem area there, but that's almost unavoidable.
Okay, so that'll always.
always happen when we have a big.
And Van just added that it does go away fairly quickly.
Okay.
But that one, I never forget.
But that one, I never forget that. That was horrible.
Yeah, it has to go somewhere.
Yeah, it has to go somewhere, and water from everywhere else has to go somewhere, so it just takes a little time.
But that one particular.
But that one particular area is a little more troublesome than the other areas.
Yeah, it was scary.
Okay, other questions? or
Okay,
comments?
other questions or comments?
Crazy weather.
Thank you.
To come, you know, in South Florida. So I just was looking past up the store and the extra ran a piece about the flooding. All of the down Jonathan Dixon State Park, I followed it, we're talking about Cove Road, so, but again, not to get away from our focus, because we're kind of going out there. I'm just concerned about, you know, flooding, and if we got any checks and balances in place, so, Ken kind of explained, you explained as engineer what we can do, and so, I'm just gonna trust it, put it in your hands, and trust that you got everything set up, or at least paying close enough attention to it, so if it becomes a problem, you get on it. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thanks so much. Any other, Councilman McConnell?
The drain, we used to clean the drains every year before hurricane season. Clean them all. Because of the high water, because of the rain from the storm. Did we quit doing that? I mean, are we still doing?
We've done the last 3 years, including this one, and the idea is to not do all of them every year, but rotate one each year of the 3.
Because
engineer's recommendation.
Right, because it actually helped the whole year. But I mean, we done it every year prior to.
For this current.
Okay.
Thanks so much.
Okay, thanks so much. Any other questions or comments?
Hearing none.
Hearing none,
Recommendation
and we
from
have a
staff.
recommendation from staff
Approval.
for the approval.
That being,
That being said, what is your pleasure?
Mr. Mayor, based on the recommendation, I'd like to, motion that we approve the awarding of contract to the road and rehabilitation paving project for the road and paving project to the bidder,
J.W. Cheatham.
J.W. Cheatham, in the amount not to exceed $139,443.
thank you so much. A motion
Thank
has
you so
been
much.
made.
A motion has been made. Is there a second to that motion?
Has been
Second.
Has been properly moved and seconded. Are there any other questions on the motion?
Hearing that there are no other.
Hearing that there are no other questions, roll call, please.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so
Just
much.
before we get to public
Just before we get to
comments,
public comments, what I'd like to do is request the council's pleasure. We have someone, we have an organization in
Attendance?
attendance, and I think they have a presentation.
Or we,
Or we,
So what
okay?
council's pleasure?
So what council's pleasure, we'll do that, and then we'll go to public comments.
Okay. All right, thanks so much.
Okay?
We're gonna
All
ask,
right, thanks so much. We're going to ask just whomever the spokesperson or spokespersons, if you just go to the
And just,
mic,
state your name
and just
address for the
state your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening.
Hi, good evening.
My name is Tanya Gilbert. I live at 1403 14th Way, West Palm Beach, Florida, 33407.
Thank you.
I'm the vice
Thank you.
president of Young Men Distinction and Gentlemen of Distinction.
Thank you, sir.
I am Jacoby Waters. I am the founder and executive director of Young Men of Distinction, 2201 Avenue F, Riviera Beach, Florida, 33404.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you so much.
Now, I've heard of the organization.
Now, I've heard of the organization, but if you want to just take a minute or two and just tell us about the organization, its goals, its missions, its objectives.
Sure. Young Men of Distinction, we mentor young men ages 7 through 18, and our motto is helping to create generational wealth and empowerment. We started last year, May, and we are throughout Palm Beach County. Even during this pandemic, it has hit us tremendously, but we still been able to press forward and still meet with our young men currently, being virtual, and we wanted to present projects, initiatives to the town of Magnolia Park. The first one was shopping for our senior citizens, which we would actually get a list. We would shop for them, and bring their groceries back, and we give them a thank you card to thank them versus them thanking us.
Yes, and also as well, we would like to, especially with the COVID-19 going on, some people can't afford to maybe get a mask. We also wanted to see if we could also like give out masks to the residents, because as you know, with the numbers going on the rise, and some people just maybe can't afford to get a mask, we will also like propose actually passing out masks as well.
And then our other two initiatives were during hurricane season, but since we like at the tail end of hurricane season, so one of them was us providing, putting up shutters, as well as free service. Everything we're doing is for free for the residents here at the town of Magnolia Park. We're just looking for the support of the council to support these endeavors to be able to help the community here in the town of Magnolia Park.
Okay.
Oh, great.
Oh, great.
So,
Great. I think it's a
And I salute you.
And I salute you,
Our
just
young
whenever I
men
find
want to
our
be
young
involved.
men wanting to be involved in the community
Issues, I think. is always
issues,
great.
I think it's always great.
So,
Absolutely.
I
So, I
have a few questions, but I'll see
have a few questions, but I'll see if any other councilman has a question or comment as it relates to the presentation.
I just want to thank you all for coming. I saw a request in email for them to come and present to us in our town email, and I was glad that somebody headed to the town email where I can respond and let them know this is something that I'd be interested in hearing more about. I'm hoping that we can also join some of their activities with our young people that our youth council has been developing, which could help the residents, the young people right in Magnolia Park to be a part of this as well.
Okay.
Alrighty, other questions or comments?
Alrighty, other questions or comments?
Okay, just while the rest
Okay,
of the council.
just while the rest of the council is getting their comments and their questions together.
Now, are you a 501(c)(3)?
Now, are you a 501(c)(3) organization, or?
Yes, sir, we are 501(c)(3), yes, sir.
Alrighty, and.
Alrighty, and
as it
now,
relates to just-
as it relates to just
this is a
the,
presentation?
this is a presentation,
Ask,
but is there an ask for the town?
So all we're asking pretty much is to provide us like the residents that would need the service of us being able to shop for them. And, you know, we can just have some type of system created to be able to shop for them, like what residents and where they live, and it'll be me and the staff member. We will be COVID tested. We will practice all safety measures to make sure ourselves and the resident is well taken care of.
To that point.
To that point, so you have the proper PPE, you know, the mask and the gloves if needed and so forth?
Great.
The shields, great.
And they were donated by United Way Solutions.
Oh, good, good.
Now, what
Okay.
do you
Now,
consider
what do you consider seniors?
What
From what till
Well,
what?
well, there's no.
Well, I know, well, there's no,
end to it, but
no
beginning.
end to it, but beginning,
I would probably say maybe, 65 and up. Because we know it's kind of hard sometimes for our seniors to get around. Such as like with Century Village, they have buses and everything, it's easier for them, but like in, the town, it's kind of hard for some of the seniors to get where they have to go. So we'd be more than happy to help out anywhere that we can.
Okay. Now, I had to ask that
okay.
question.
Now, I had to ask that question because AARP considers 55.
I had a
So
list for
I was-
myself.
I had a list for myself, so, okay,
Other
okay, thanks so much. Other questions or comments?
We wouldn't mind if it's 55 and up as well, we just want to make sure that, we get the assistance that we need to get to the seniors.
Mm-hmm.
God willing, I'll be a senior myself.
Now, if you're starting
Okay.
55.
Now, if you're starting 55, I'll send you a list. Okay.
No, I'm just kidding.
No, I'm just kidding, I'm just kidding. No, the older seniors need it, so.
Other comments or questions?
Okay, other comments or questions? Councilwoman Green?
Just wanted to know how many men were in your group.
How many men in
How
your
many
organization?
men in your organization?
Currently, we have 12 young men in the program right now.
You have been the mentors?
You have
for
been the
these
mentors
young
for
men?
these young men?
Yes, but we can still do more because we're not only a community-based organization, we're also in 7 schools currently, so we need mentors for them as well.
So are you aware?
So are you aware of the Palm Beach
Caucus of
County
Black elected-
Caucus of Black elected officials?
I've heard of it, yes, ma'am, I've heard of them, yes.
Okay.
Already?
Okay.
No, so
Alrighty.
to your
No, so to your
as it
question,
relates to the caucus,
as it relates to the caucus, perhaps getting information and then a request that they can just come before the caucus.
Pardon?
Will not come before.
Will not come before, in this context, of course, is Zoom or some other method, and do a presentation.
Then you're before.
Then you're before other elected officials,
Might, maybe.
right, who may
my
be able
town.
to, in my town, hear some needs and identify some needs. So if we can get that done, that would be great.
No,
No,
and this is just from all
and this is just from all personal edification, just a question as it relates to.
funding. They all-
Funding.
They always take funds.
It always takes funds in order for an organization
So
to
you're-
work.
you're
So you're
nonprofit.
nonprofit, so you receive contributions or donations or?
We receive donations. Last year, we did get a awarded 2 grants from United Way
Okay.
for their fiscal year, as well as community benefits from other municipalities as well. But majority is through the funding of us.
Okay.
Okay.
And that's been sufficient for you?
And that's been sufficient for you thus far?
Especially me, being a husband, a father of 3 young men of my own.
Okay. Okay.
Congratulations on the 3.
Congratulations on the 3. Oh.
Any other
Okay.
questions or comments?
Friday, other questions or comments?
Any other questions?
Any other questions? Vice Mayor?
I'm just very glad that you were interested in coming to the Magnolia Park and to move forward with the project and assist our residents. Very, very much appreciative of that. As I kind of alluded to, once I heard your presentation this evening, I thought about our young men and women who, but mostly the young men who have been a part of our youth council. And I would love to see them work hand in hand with young men of distinction in serving our residents in Magnolia Park. But have to probably set up a meeting or some way. I'm not sure. We haven't really been in touch with the president, vice president, and so forth of our youth coalition. But I don't know if Chris, have you had any contact with any of our youth officers?
We're in touch, and obviously we're not meeting right now. We have done a couple of Zoom meetings, very informal, and I think the general idea right now is to wait till the majority of students are back physically at school before we try to get everybody together physically. We have done a couple of Zoom meetings, not in a while.
In an effort to meet the needs, especially the seniors, and I'm really applaud you for wanting to take care of us. How do you suggest that we put this together so we can get a list of some of the needs of seniors? Would you put it in a newsletter, or how do you think would be the best way to find out their needs and how it can be facilitated through the
I'm sorry, just before you.
I'm sorry, just before you do, just a procedural issue. Let the record reflect that Councilwoman Green stepped from the dais for just a moment. Okay, go right ahead.
Okay, I'm sorry, the question.
Okay, I'm sorry, the question to you.
I'm sorry, so however we can work out a way to formulate a list of, that's why we're asking the town of Magnolia Park, they can like help us identify the needs of the residents here who would need that assistance, so we'll be able to be of service to them.
Okay, well, I guess maybe I'll make a suggestion in our next newsletter that you present what you'd like to offer to the residents. And many of our residents read, most of our residents, I hope, read our newsletter. And that there's a fill-out form or something that can be in the newsletter. And that's a good way we can get a response back and possibly, get some names and some needs identified and some services rendered.
Okay, that absolutely can be done.
Since our town manager here, Mr. Metcalf, would be the main one to work with you in that regard.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, last
All right,
question.
thanks. Now, last question, at least that I have here. In terms of just, so that I'm clear, in terms of just partnership with the organization, that would take shape by us simply stating, simply just, here's what you're asking for, give us the information. We need to be able to assist the seniors in your community. That would be the ask?
Yes,
Okay.
that's just the ask, and if that, like I said, by the city council being behind us, an organization that's trying to help benefit the city's here. The citizens here, especially our senior citizens, we call it shopping for our living. So that was like, that was the twist that we came up with giving them thank you cards, sending them thank us for thanking them for their knowledge, their, without them, there wouldn't be no us. So this is our way of saying thank you.
Okay.
And to also keep them safe during the pandemic.
And so other
Okay.
cities, in
And
terms
so
of their
other cities, in
partnership,
terms of
there
their
hasn't been
partnership, there hasn't been
document
a
or anything like that
document or
stating
anything like that stating that we hereby proclaim or,
As of, we try to, propose to other cities, and really moved anywhere,
Okay.
which is surprising, but like I said, we just want this city just to, here's an initiative that an organization wants to do.
Mhm. Okay.
Okay, yeah, I think I got you.
Okay, yeah, I think I got you. Okay, great.
And,
I think I
in terms of the ask.
understand in terms of the ask and.
You all did say you had your 501c3?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I didn't hear.
I'm sorry.
He answered my question. Thank
He
you.
answered my question. Thank you.
Now, 12,
Now, 12,
members at
see,
this
there's
point?
12 members at this point?
Now, I know that 12 men.
Now, I know that 12 men
the world.
could
We saw
move
that
the
happen.
world. We saw that happen before, right?
But in terms of just really
But in terms of just really moving the community, are you open to growth, or you've done recruitment, or this is the 12, these are the disciples, we don't need any more?
No, we're always open for growth.
Okay.
As long as we have, dedicated young men that's willing to grow, especially the young men that get ready to start a public speaking workshop this Thursday at 8 p.m. via Zoom.
Mhm.
So, like I said, we do a lot of different workshops with them to help give them the resources and tools to life after high school.
Okay.
I think it's a great.
I think it's a great organization, certainly.
Vice
I
Mayor.
think, Vice Mayor, then Councilwoman Green.
The response is really, really good.
Thank you.
Now, are you connected with Suits for Seniors?
No, ma'am, we're our own separate entity. Yes, sir.
Okay, there may be an additional partnership you may want to use.
I just wanted to mention something on that. That was a big reason why I wanted to join Young Men Distinction. I'm a single parent with 2 young men myself. One is 17 and one is 20. And growing up, you have sports and everything, but I noticed that there wasn't a lot of things like helping them with, like the way we grew up with, we teach them etiquette with Young Men Distinction. We were teaching them some didn't know how to tie a tie. We had an attorney that came in and talked to them about resume presentation. We supply them with the tools that they need so when they go out into the world. And I was talking to Kobe about that when with my kids growing up, I didn't see any programs like that, so I made sure that I wanted to be on board with it. But I did hear about a couple of programs that we have in West Palm, because I'm from West Palm. But I'm really passionate about this because we need more programs like that. At the end of the day, we all have the same vision in mind, and that's to help our young people.
Just have one important, real good important something you left off.
5013C.
5013C, you should have it on every one of these.
It's not on here.
It's not on here.
See, I think the first, Young Men Distinction is a nonprofit organization.
It's not on here anywhere.
Anything you put out,
Anything you put out, always put that on it.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
All right.
I'm sorry, Councilman Smith?
I am appreciative of animation and passion. I'm also curious, us being young men in the South, I'm not gonna question the motivation and passion of who guys demonstrated that. Tell me about the record. What do you do when you're not mentioning these young people, 12 men? What's your background? I'm
No. Important report. Yeah. So, this is, as I like to state with Young Men Distinction, is a very family-oriented team, like, this is actually my cousin, my oldest cousin. So, mature. So when I'm not doing Young Men of Distinction, I am a father of 3 young men of my own, ages 16, 7, and 2. And and I enjoy being a father. And when I'm not being a father, working a full-time job to help provide for them the best way I can and for the organization. But other than that, you know, being a father is what I enjoy doing. I love it. And if it wasn't for my grandfather and my father that was in my life, never distinction probably wouldn't be here. So I wanted to empower, you know, the generation behind me, being only age 31, to want to be an impact to the generation behind me. So when they get age, my age, they're doing the same thing, so we start a new cycle.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, appreciate that.
Yes, about making a difference.
Yes, about making a
Last
difference.
question,
Last question, you do background checks on members?
Yes.
Okay.
Mentors as well.
Yes, we have to do, that's required, especially being part of the United Way into our network, we have to do a level 2 background check, especially dealing with children.
Feel good.
Okay, feel good. All right.
So if anyone wanted
So if anyone wanted to participate as mentors and/or just a set of hands, they would just contact you via the information here?
Yes, yes, sir.
All righty.
Any other questions or comments?
Any other questions or comments?
So for tonight.
So for tonight, they're requesting that we simply, I guess, maybe a letter of support, or I'm trying to figure.
Something that sort of.
Something that sort of
Says that
Mangonia Park supports
organization.
our organization.
Yeah, I think a letter of support is certainly appropriate. I think, as Vice Mayor Johnson said, putting information for potentially interested residents to contact the organization directly rather than the town supplying resident information, I think is much more appropriate. But yes, a letter of support is fine. Inclusion in your newsletter and any other publications that you do could be the same support. So maybe that's for them even more useful than the letter.
That's okay. So
So with that, all things considered, at least as we're looking here, and of course, this is not an action item, but just by way of consensus, based upon what you have heard, and your questions and the responses to those, are you amenable to a letter of support, just something generic that basically states that the town supports the actions, the initiatives, the objectives of the organization, kind of a thing? We'll sort of massage the letter.
Okay, Councilwoman Green?
Okay, Councilwoman Green?
And again, this is not an.
And again, this is not an official vote, just do we have consensus to do a letter of support for the organization?
Councilwoman Green?
Councilwoman Green?
Do we have a?
Support to do a letter of support? Okay, McConnell?
Absolutely.
Okay, Vice Mayor? Councilman Smith?
Okay. All right, so.
Okay.
All
All right, so we'll put together something, you know.
We'll have the endorsement.
We'll have the endorsement ringing to it, you know, that kind of a, but we support
We'll
kind of a thing. We'll massage it and get that to
Okay, and
you.
you have a website too.
Okay, and you have a website too, right?
Yes,
Okay, all righty.
Okay,
Any other questions?
all righty. Any other questions for our presenters? Any other questions or comments?
I just wanted to just kind of circle back to the idea of our youth council being involved. I don't know if Ken can include them in the next virtual meeting with the youth council, so they can connect, I think, with the
Right, and what are the ages? High school?
Right, and what are the ages? High school?
and up?
High school and up?
ages 7
wow.
through 18.
Oh, wow, okay.
Okay.
Big range. Okay.
All righty, okay, thanks.
All righty, okay, thanks, I appreciate it, that's all I had. Is there anything else? Any other questions or comments?
All right, thanks so much.
Okay.
We appreciate
All right, thanks so
all
much,
that
and we
you're doing.
appreciate all that you're doing. It's,
Can't say enough, thank you.
Can't say enough, thank you for what you're doing.
Okay, you have a-
Well, certainly, okay, you have a great evening. Okay.
Righty, so with that.
Righty, so with that,
go to our public
we'll now go to our public comments. If we have any comments from the public,
Have anybody online?
don't know if we have anybody online who has some comments or some questions.
Okay, so we've received no
Okay,
questions.
so we've received no questions or comments via our YouTube and our Zoom channels. So then we'll now go to our reports. Ken, you have anything?
Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Council, I'm going to go as submitted. I do have a report in front of you with one exception. In the report, or separate from the report, you're going to see 3 letters stapled together. And this is correspondence that we've had with the Health Department over the past 6 to 8 weeks. So what had happened, we received a warning letter from the Health Department. That was based on a late sampling and recording of a lead and copper test that was supposed to be due the end of June. Due to the peak of COVID and all of that, we had some delays in getting the sample to the Health Department, which they've acknowledged in one of their letters. So we addressed it in our correspondence with them. They have accepted our explanation. But it is a Tier 3 public notification, which means that when we do our water quality report in June of next year, we will have to include that in. And again, I want to make clear, it was not a water quality issue. Our samples, our tests came back great, no problem. We were late in sampling and reporting. So that's officially what that is, and you have the correspondence in front of you. And it's all been very friendly, but there is a notification in that. Now, we'll do the water quality report next June. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have. And in your manager's report, we do have updates on the sewer. We do have some information on Riviera Beach as well. These would be great conversations for our one-on-ones, and I know we've cooled off a little bit on the one-on-one since the budget process is through, but I'm ready to get back at that whenever you have time to schedule. So, thank you for your time, and go eat.
Yes,
Yes, yes.
he's trying to.
He's trying to get a pay raise, so.
Thanks, Ken.
Thanks, Ken. Any questions or comments?
Well, I
for Ken?
have a comment. and
Well,
this
I
is
have
not
a
for him to
comment,
get
and
a
this
pay
is not for
raise.
him to get a pay raise either.
No, I just like to.
No, I just like to give him a coup
I
when
just
you
want to
deserve
let
it.
you know
I just want to let you know that
The residents are
the
very.
residents are very, and I need, the council needs to hear this, the residents, Mr. Metcalf, are very happy with the attention
Very
that,
seldom you would
very
find
seldom you would find
residents
complimenting a town manager and the attention that they get, especially with the work that's being done on the sewer system in the community. So I just want to let you know that.
Thank you.
He even has them meeting.
He even has them meeting,
He has
Mr. Mayor.
the
He has the residents holding meeting
in the street in front of.
in the street in front of a house.
They've held 2.
They've held 2.
Oh, good, good.
Oh, good,
We are
good.
going to reschedule our hill section walkthrough. We were rained out this past Friday, but we're going to pick that back up within the next couple of weeks.
Okay,
Okay.
thanks. Any other?
Thanks. Any other questions or comments, or?
No, just,
Okay, no, thanks so much.
Okay, no, thanks so much. Thanks, Ken.
Captain.
Captain.
Any questions for?
Mr. Mayor,
Any
may I
questions
ask-
for
Mr. Mayor, may I ask either, Mr., you can answer it, or either the town manager, because I don't know really what we call it. Remember when we had the gentleman to come in and we're supposed to
Having
be
installed.
having installed the system? What am I
The
talking?
video and all of
The
that.
video and all of that.
Sound and the video system.
When is that supposed to occur?
When is that supposed to occur?
It's been completed.
Huh?
When is it going to be
Yeah,
installed?
yeah.
When is it going to be
The
in?
new system is.
Yeah, the new system is in place.
It's the reason she had that
The
because
reason
her
she
name
had
Vice
that
Mayor?
because her name Vice Mayor?
No,
Actually.
no, actually, if you look right up there, you can wave to those who are looking at us
I
online.
can't hear you, Mr.
I can't hear
Actually,
you.
the system.
Okay, actually, the
like the Vice
system,
Mayor
Do like the Vice Mayor does. She does this and I can hear.
actually, the video is
So
there.
she's actually
So
logged on
she's actually
to our
logged on to our live meeting.
On her computer?
On her
Right, the
computer.
sound system.
Right, the sound
has been
system
installed.
has been
It's all
installed,
completed.
so it's
The
all
only thing,
completed.
to that,
The only
I
thing
would
to
access
that,
that.
I would access that.
Correct me if I'm
Correct me if I
misunderstand,
misunderstand, but we were supposed to get the Zoom capable system.
Mr. Mayor,
So I can really understand.
so I can really understand, since I'm the only one who's lost and I can't understand you.
Right,
To your question, you had
right,
asked
to your
about
question, you had asked about the installation of the sound system and the video. Right, in the response to the question, it has been
We're
installed.
using it now?
We're using it now.
Yes.
Mhm.
Both the sound
Yes.
system.
Both the sound system.
I'll wait till after the meeting.
I get my answer, because I don't.
I get my answer because I don't understand what you're saying.
Yep, you are.
Okay, yep, you want,
May I just point out to you, see that red light and device in the middle of the ceiling right there? That's the camera. That camera has been filming us for the past, what, 6 or 8 meetings. And that's how the residents see us on YouTube. This is the YouTube I brought up on the laptop so I can see what the residents are seeing tonight. So this has all been in place for a couple of months.
Okay, what I need, Mr.
Okay, what I need, like I said, let me wait.
I'm
I'm the only dummy sitting up here. Mr. Metcalf, I'd just like to wait. If you have about 5.
Is it gonna take?
Is it going to take only more than 10 minutes for you to explain to me how this works? Because I don't know how it works.
Very simple. We have a YouTube channel, and that camera in the back with the red lights on it, we're going out right now on our YouTube channel. People can log in and they can watch us live, but with a 45-second delay. So we do have, I think we started out with 13 viewers tonight. I think we're down.
So we're working tonight.
So we're working tonight. We on TV, so they can hear us tonight.
And
That's,
as the Vice Mayor said, probably for the last 6 to 8 meetings, we've been.
No, sir, not the
no,
last 6
sir,
or 8
not the
meetings.
last 6 or 8 meetings.
Something.
Remember when I was sitting on
Remember when I was sitting on there about 2 meetings ago and one of the members actually called me Mr. Mayor? And you were right, I was sitting right next to you, Mr. Metcalf, and it was complaining because they couldn't hear us or whatever. So that's why I said it couldn't have been the 6 or 8 meetings. But I'm happy it's there. Never mind. As long as it's fine.
And you're correct, they were saying.
and you're correct, they were saying they couldn't hear me. They were seeing, and I wasn't speaking loud enough, but they were able to make that comment because we were live.
The reason they couldn't
The reason they couldn't hear you is because we were live.
No, I said the reason why they could state that they couldn't hear me speaking is because we were live during that meeting.
It's been.
So it's been, yeah, about 6 to 8 meetings.
Yeah, because I followed it very
Yeah,
closely.
because I followed it very closely. When is it going to be installed? When is it going to be installed? And so when the guys came over, I walked over and, well, not even walk, I drove over and kind of walked through and so forth. And when are they going to do that? And so it's been a couple months.
And they are archived on YouTube, so you can go back and see them. So there's.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Well, certainly.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Any other
Okay,
questions?
well, certainly. Okay, any other questions or comments?
Alrighty?
Nope.
Okay,
Okay.
and Captain, as submitted.
Alrighty,
any questions
okay,
or comments?
and Captain, as submitted, any questions or comments for Captain Thomas?
Okay, hearing none. Amity, you have anything?
Okay, hearing none.
Just
Amity,
very
you have
briefly,
anything
thank
for
you,
us?
Mr. Mayor.
Just very briefly, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I alluded to this before, but just an update on the
easing of in-person quorum.
Constitution. The governor did extend that order through this month. It expires at 12:01 a.m. on November 1st.
You all have been meeting in person anyways.
You all have been meeting in person anyways, as have many other jurisdictions. But just a point of note that there was a memo that came out of, not the governor's office itself, but someone very close to the governor's office, that will not be extended any further. So this is the last month for the easing of the requirement for in-person quorum. So if anything changes, I'll certainly bring it back to you, but that's the latest word on that.
Thank you so much.
Thank
And
you.
normally I'll
Well,
just
thank you so
call,
much.
Councilmember.
And normally I'll just call council members, but just to that, if I can segue from that, and I was going to make this under my comments, but to that point, I don't know that the council wants to do this or find it necessary, but there's, so that I don't give an endorsement to one of the stores. There's a store, major store locally, a chain, that has the partitions, plexiglass, and I think it's like $90-something per panel. That would actually cover like from here, so, because we are meeting in person. Something for consideration. That's something that you want to consider, get with Ken and sort of look at it. We didn't budget, but under another line item, we might be able to.
And I will add to that, in many of the jurisdictions I go, they have exactly that. I went to a meeting today for the first time, those plexiglass partitions have been put up. So the trend is definitely back to in-person, so that's certainly something to consider.
Right, so give that additional protection, so if that's something you want to consider, yes, we'll consider it,
Ken
and
to find out where we get.
then we'll beat up on Ken to find out where we get the money for it. And I'm sure staff probably internally may want to say, hey, well, we want it too, so we'll do an assessment of it. Okay?
So with that.
Righty, so with that, Councilman McConnell, I'm sorry, McConnell, you have anything?
Councilman Smith.
No. Okay, Councilman Smith?
Okay, Councilwoman Green.
Okay, Councilwoman Green?
Nope.
Okay, Vice Mayor?
I'm just checking, I see the letter that came to town manager regarding the 2020 census. And, I do see in the letter stating that collections will end on September 30th. However, I did find out by a friend of mine who's a part of the census reporting that has been extended. It is to the end of October, is it?
I believe that's correct.
Now, I see some of the statistics stating from the county collection process. Will we get a breakdown for Magnolia Park, you know?
Yes.
When completed, all the census is completed, is that what you said?
They have, currently, they do have census tracts. It may not be Magnolia Park specific, but it will be our zip code. So, and I think they probably do break that down. So, I know that's current, but definitely when they finish up, we'll get our information.
The reason I'm asking is if there's a need for us to push for these last few days for Magnolia Park residents to be involved in the census, how will we know where we are in that process?
There is always the need to push, and we do have the link on our website. But at our last time I checked with the local census people, we were in the high 50%, 58, 59%, which is pretty much what the rest of the county is, and compared with West Palm Beach and Riviera Beach, we're right in there. So everyone's going to be at this point around 60%, and we're right in there, I'm sure.
Okay. And if we could reach out, I
Righty.
guess, to some of the
And if we could reach out, I guess, to some of the canvassers, or whomever the responsible persons are, to see if we can get a couple of flankers to
I
put
know
out.
that they're posted
A couple of
throughout the
signs.
county and all
I know that they're posted throughout the county and all over.
Maybe that
But
we
if we had some specific,
maybe 3 or
maybe that we
4
could
at a
just
minimum.
kind of post, maybe 3 or 4 at a minimum, if we can do that as a
Of
reminder.
course, and I know that
Okay,
PSAs
and of course,
are
and
constantly
I know that
going.
PSAs are constantly going, so we don't need to do a PSA necessarily. 'Cause they're
Any other
generic.
questions?
Okay.
Councilman?
Any other questions? Councilman McConnell?
The census,
The being as they use
zip code, how do
your
they
zip
separate us
code,
from West Palm Beach?
how do they separate us from West Palm Beach?
Because our,
Because
everything comes, everything comes back to me.
everything comes back to me. For me, it comes
23407 West
with
Palm Beach.
23407 West
So
Palm
how do
Beach.
How do they know?
So how do they
I mean, do
know,
they know we exist?
I mean, do they know we exist?
No, they have the streets for each municipality designated, so they know which streets are ours and which streets are West Palm.
The other thing is,
The other thing is,
we
that
brought up several times, is
we brought up several
we
times
lose a lot of
is,
money because of the.
we
zip
lose a
code.
lot of
We tried
money
to change
because of
to
the
get
zip
our own
code. We
zip
tried to
code
change
one
to get our own zip
time,
code
several
one time,
which
or several
to no
times,
avail.
which-
But
to no avail. But
how much?
how
When
much,
they're talking about.
when they're talking about people,
Numbers.
you know, they want people,
I
numbers.
watched the West Palm Beach.
And I
Maryland
watched the
TV
West Palm Beach Maryland
talking
TV
about numbers.
talking about numbers.
Get the numbers from
And
the
they
census. So if
get the
if
numbers
they
from
don't
the
fill it out
census.
and
So
send it in,
if they don't fill
then
it
the
out and
numbers
send
go
it
down.
in, then the
They're
numbers
out
go
trying
down. So they're out trying
When I
to,
started thinking about that, you know, I said,
and I started thinking
you know,
about that, you
all
know,
my
I
mail
said,
comes West
you know,
Palm Beach,
all my mail comes
33407.
West Palm Beach,
So
33407.
how do they,
So how do they?
how much money are we losing to
How
West
much
Palm
money
Beach? That's-
are we
I guess
losing
that's
to
what-
West Palm Beach? I guess that's what
You
I'm
know.
trying to, you know?
I'll find out, and I do have it on pretty good authority that based on the addresses, they have that pretty much pegged to the municipality. Now,
But
I'll get you a
that's what
better
I'm
answer.
saying.
But that's what I'm saying.
They
They
use
use,
the address, they use
they
your
use the
address.
address, they
We
use
got a
your
West Palm Beach
address. We got a West Palm Beach address.
the zip code.
We have a license plate address because we share the zip code with them, but the street addresses are turned into the state. There's a form that they make us fill out similar to a highway mileage report. Every address is included in an Excel format, and we're required by the state to submit that and add new addresses as buildings are built, or take them away as they're demolished. Those addresses from the number go into the state by the entire address, the number, the street address, the zip code, and then they do a longitude and latitude as well that we don't do, they do, and that determines your revenue. We had to do it before this year's budget. We're going to do it every year.
Ready? So there, okay, so there's
Ready? So there,
geo maps.
okay, so there's what they use,
opposed to
geo
zip
maps,
matrix.
geography maps, as opposed to zip matrix.
Yeah.
So if they did the zip matrix,
Sucked up.
yeah, we get
It's all go to West.
sucked up with the.
It's all go to West Palm.
Okay, Councilwoman Green?
Sorry. would you-
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to.
Oh,
follow
I'm
up
sorry,
with-
were you completed?
No, I'm done.
Okay, Councilwoman Green?
No, I want to follow up with what he said, because, but could we get, following up with him, could we get how much money we get? Could they tell us how much money
That's
Magnolia
the
Park
revenue
gets?
sharing.
Yeah, that's the revenue sharing portion of it, that I think, and I think we do, yeah, I think we do get that information.
Yeah, it's part of our budgeting process.
Yeah, it's part of our budgeting process.
Okay.
We can get that.
Okay.
We can get that.
Ready? Any other? Councilman
Roddy,
Smith?
any other, Councilman Smith?
So Sherry, correct if I heard you wrong or right. So the identifier is not the zip code, but the identifier is things were going to the town and going to the street address.
Well, we're talking about getting rid of the census.
There are census tracts that are based on zip code, that's what I was saying.
The regular
Oh,
US
to
census, the
clarify
federal
that.
government census.
Okay,
But the
so,
state has a census type program for revenue.
okay,
And
gotcha.
that's where the addresses are placed in there, and we're responsible for filling out or adding or
Deleting.
subtracting those addresses. For instance, if there was a building going up across the street or anywhere, like across the street from Town Hall, that address will be added next year once it's built.
To the state census, yeah.
But the regular census, the US census, I'm sure they're identified by zip code. Remember, there's a 4-digit code after 407.
So we're having a lot of conversation up on the dais is trying to figure out how much the pie that we're going to get to this area. Because we're sharing 33470 zip, which is West Palm Beach. But we're a township within. So I don't go towards the suburb.
We're your own town.
Right.
But there's a 4-digit zip code identifier after 407.
That's where, and I've seen that, so that's identified, that's what I'm at.
Okay. Roddy, anything else? Any other
Okay.
questions or comments?
Roddy, anything else? Any other questions or comments?
Now, if it would, Mayor, if it please, council, we can try to get one of our census people here for a short presentation on the 20th.
I'm sure, I didn't want to know how much money.
Well, that's
Okay.
what. Well, that's what I kinda understood. That's what I kinda understood, you know, when I was watching that on TV. The mayor of West Palm Beach says, you know. The mayor of West Palm Beach says, you know, they get their money. Up to the population. Up to the population, and they're using. Census. With, you know, with the census, but they're using the zip code. Wait a minute. And I'm thinking, wait a minute. How much money is Mangonia Park losing? How much money is Mangonia Park losing to West Palm Beach because we got the same zip
Keep in
code?
mind,
Right, and keep in mind,
right, yeah, go both ways.
right, yeah, it
Just
can go
keep in
both
mind
ways.
quickly that,
Right, and just keep in mind quickly
Made
that,
that
that
statement.
when he, you
What he's
know,
saying
he
is
made that statement,
citizens,
what he's saying is we,
right,
the
of
citizens,
this
right,
county,
of
the
the
state,
of the county, the state,
because
the
when-
country,
when the- from the
because
US
when
Census
the,
Bureau,
from the US, from the
budget takes
Census
place
Bureau,
there in
when the budget takes place there in Congress, they're looking at what the population is in the state of Florida. They don't drill down to what's the population in Lake Worth. Right. So they look at the population of Florida, and this is just simplified. So they send a check based upon the population. Then your local legislators become sort of the administrator of those dollars, if you will. And then they begin to allocate based upon certain factors. And that's why it's important, that we make noise as well. Hey, we are all here, and that's why we went to Tallahassee to try and beg for some of that money that rightfully is ours, that we hadn't been getting. So those are how the mechanisms work.
Righty, so if there's nothing else.
Okay. Righty, so if there's nothing else, for the good of the order?
Then motion to
Okay, if not, then motion to adjourn.
Properly moved and seconded. All
Is there a
in favor, aye?
second? Properly moved and seconded. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, same
And thanks so much.
sign.
We'd like to thank,
It is carried. And thanks so much. We'd like to thank Ms. Gilbert and Mr. Waters for attending the meeting and then staying by after the presentation. Thank you.
You guys have a great
Really
evening.
appreciate it.
Afternoon.
Okay, you guys have a great evening. Afternoon. Evening. Evening.
Thanks so
Okay.
much.
Okay, thanks so much.
Vice Mayor.
Okay. So we got, and nobody moved, we got checks to sign.
Certainly. Okay, keep
Oh,
up the good
certainly,
work.
certainly. Okay, keep up the good work, we appreciate it.